Fantasy football podcast called Living the Stream comes to you each week. Streaming recommendations during NFL season, it's not just tongue-in-cheek. Quarterback, defense, tight end recommendations based on opposition matchup. Here are your podcast hosts, JJ Zacharyson and Danny Carter, living the stream.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Living the Stream. I'm JJ Zacharyson, the late round quarterback, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Denny Carter. Denny, what's up?
Hello, JJ. We're going to get into it with Noah Gray taking on... No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Not bad. I was roundly mocked by family and friends for my plate. Can I tell you what was on my plate?
Yeah. Tell me about this.
I didn't think much of it. I wasn't like trying to make a statement or anything, but I had a green bean casserole, which I love.
Okay. Green beans suck, but that's okay. Keep going.
Wow. I don't know where to go from there. I'm rattled now. Ham.
Ham's good.
Thank you.
I'm going to comment on everything that you say here, just for the record.
And really good, really like well cooked, like roasted Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah,
they're great, right?
Yeah. We
And
had that too. Yeah.
so that's the list.
Oh, that was it.
That's the list of things that I had.
You had Brussels sprouts, ham, and green bean casserole. That's it.
Is that so? That's weird, huh?
That's all you ate on Thanksgiving.
I didn't eat anything. I didn't get a second plate. Nothing. I ate that and I was done.
We have TK421 that says, what does JJ eat on Thanksgiving when he's dairy and gluten-free? Guys, there is a lot that you can consume when you're dairy and gluten-free. It's very easy to eat dairy and gluten-free. The majority of foods I can still consume. I'm just not eating like crackers and stuff that
right.
And cake, stuff like that or ice cream and cheese. It's really not that difficult to eat gluten and dairy free. So I had a very normal, my plate was Brussels sprouts with some like little bacon bits in there, which was really, really good. I had sweet potato casserole, which I think is the greatest thing on the face of the earth because I'm a big sweet potato guy, and having that in a casserole is amazing. It's like a dessert basically. Had turkey, there were some mashed potatoes, had some other, I can't even think of it all. I had when I am eating my Thanksgiving meal, I have at least 9 different foods on my plate.
Yeah, right. I know that's the thing that most people do.
Right. So was your plate full of those things?
I mean, it was relatively full. It wasn't like a pile,
Right, but did it cover the whole plate?
It was a good amount, and I mean, importantly, and I hope this doesn't get lost in the conversation. It filled my belly.
Yeah. Okay, that's important. Did you eat dessert at all?
No.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I gained at least 15 pounds over the last week. Just so you're aware. Yeah, it's been I go nuts. Before we left, we got these like pecan gluten-free little bites that some local baker made, and we took them with us. I ate all of them because that's the one thing that I do not eat a lot of is like baked goods because it's very gluten heavy, right? Usually. And so when I have the opportunity to do that, I just go nuts. Like I was sick at my stomach still eating these things on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. I when I'm full, I stop.
Yeah. That's good. Cause I don't. And a lot of people don't.
You're a pretty disciplined guy. I mean, you're
relatively disciplined, but I think that the one thing, like part of the diet that I have that's helpful is that it forces me to not eat as much garbage, right? And so I know that I will often go nuts in trying to eat a lot, and that stops me because there's only so much that I can actually possibly eat. So that's why I just eat fruit and stuff like that.
Someone in the comments here says Denny's plate sounds like a protest to the host, and I can totally understand that because you're right. It does sound like that.
Yeah.
The host was my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, who make amazing food, and every time they cook, I love it. But I love the things that they made so much that I just ate, that I just made that my dinner. Like I love the Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna have 3 Brussels sprouts. I seriously had 20 Brussels sprouts.
20, that's a good, were they cut?
They were cut.
So cut in half Brussels sprouts, or
Yeah.
were they like kind of shredded, like a shreddy boy Brussels sprouts?
They were just cut in half. Yeah. So
Okay, so you had some of those, some cut in half Brussels sprouts. You had 20 of them. How much ham did you have? Like how many slices of a normal
like
slice of ham?
5 or 6.
Okay. So you ate a decent amount.
Yeah. No, I was very full by the end, and Melissa, other people at the table were like, "Are you gonna get any more?"
Yeah.
And I said no. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. And then speaking of food consumption, the other day on the Blue Sky platform, I posted. I know you saw this because you commented. I posted about having heartburn in the morning. I took my first sip of coffee and immediately got heartburn.
Yeah.
And I asked folks, and the post kind of went viral. I don't really understand why, but I begged people not to give me advice. I didn't want any way to fix this. And I also didn't want people to tell me that I was having a heart attack or dying of cancer. And you wouldn't believe this, JJ, but I got dozens of replies with people telling me that I was either dying of a heart attack or dying of cancer. One guy said, of course, he said, I had heartburn once, and then I had to have a stint put in the next day.
No, look, I've been a reflux boy throughout my life. That's the second time that I've thrown in the boy. On
You
this
do.
podcast.
You love the.
I love the boy additive. Yeah, so I get it. I get it. My reflux that I dealt with was the silent reflux. I've talked about it on the show before. People have emailed me like for years now, ever since I came out with that, like talking about the silent reflux stuff.
Oh,
LPR, you guys should Google it. I cured mine through the diet. Again, this is why I eat the way that I do. But heartburn sucks, man, and I feel like it's something that us, I guess you're in your 40s now.
I am.
Us in our late 30s, early 40s, I think that men and women should just be more open about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens sometimes. Honestly, I'm a baby about heartburn because I never get it. And I mean never. Like, I don't know the last time that happened. I think maybe it could have been related to the over 2.5 hard seltzers I had the night before. Because I that sometimes flares up for me after I, not drink hard, but drink more than a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so that may have been, but someone said, okay, so I got I'm going to need a stint. I got your liver is failing.
Mm-hmm.
I got
I've heard liver detox. Yep.
Yeah. What some other internal organ has shut down, obviously. And there was something else. Oh, I have GERD.
Yeah, I mean that's probably that's true. That's a thing. Like that's gastro reflux disease, gastroesophageal reflux disease. So
but if you get heartburn once, do you have disease?
I don't think that you would have GERD. No, okay. I don't know. But that's what that's GERD is what reflux. And was the heartburn just a chest pain, or was it actual, like you could feel stuff coming up your throat?
Oh, no. I couldn't feel anything coming up the throat.
Okay.
You
haven't even experienced bad reflux before.
Right. It wasn't reflux. It was just a little bit of burning in the heart area.
So the reflux stuff is separate than what you were experiencing.
Yeah. And I'm a huge baby about it. As Melissa can tell you. I mean, when I have gas, like trapped gas.
Yeah.
I've actually told Melissa I think I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, right. Because you're look, better safe than sorry. Then if you go in, I'm having a heart attack. Like, no, you just need a fart.
How funny. Well, Parks and Rec. There's that scene with a fart attack. Jerry is having a fart attack. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It's such a good.
The last time we talked about Parks and Rec, people got really mad because we couldn't remember Ron Swanson, and I still am pissed off about this because you described Ron Swanson as simply. What was it, like a bacon lover? Like I
was like the guy.
Yeah, the guy with the bacon. I'm like, what are you saying right now? And then it's the main character of the show. But yeah, man. I mean, look, a lot of people experience the reflux stuff. What I would say to folks is, do your best to not take medicine for the reflux and find why it's happening.
Yeah, right.
And try to figure that. That's what I did, and it saved my life. Like literally, it changed my life completely.
You don't want to paper over it.
Yeah. You don't want to just take meds and just be like, oh yeah, it's fine, because stuff is still going on then.
I have to say, and I want to hear about your bad beat in fantasy real quick.
Oh God.
But this post I'm talking about Harper and Witt, for Blue Sky purposes, went super viral, right? And so I'm still getting replies to it, and I have to say that the replies generally are shockingly nice. People saying, "I hear you, and I'm sorry that happened to you," or "I'm not going to give you advice, even though I want to. I hope you feel better." It is an alternate universe compared to the X platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not that surprised. My experience so far has been very positive. But I'm not, I'm going from Twitter where I have like 200 some thousand followers to,
right.
It's a different kind of exposure going on there at Blue Sky. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about this bad beat. My home league, some folks listening to the show are in that home league.
Okay.
There's 14 of us. This is a league where I finally got the monkey off my back a few years ago. You guys might remember me talking about that. But like year in and year out, I'm in the playoffs, just bad beats. It's like a meme at this point with me and my buddies, right? Where like I complain because I want it's almost like, because I'm the commissioner, we're not playing for a lot of money. It's mostly pride at this point in our lives. And I like to lean into like making things more entertaining for people as the commissioner, right?
Okay.
And so I will lean into the character of the bad beat guy, right? Like the complaining whenever there is some misfortune going on in the league. With that being said, there has been an incredible amount of bad beats that I've experienced in this league over the last. This league's been around since 2001 or something, 2002.
How old were you?
We were in 9th grade when we started this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the first league, 9th grade. I have all the champions still since 9th grade.
Amazing.
Like,
I didn't know that. I knew I knew it had been a long time. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like, but it's a league where like you get half the league really knows what they're doing, and half the league is pretty casual, right? Like my dad's in it; he's a casual.
Right,
like I have. So there's some other folks that are. So it's kind of a mix of like we're just having fun here. It's not the most serious thing in the world, but you want to win because you're competitive and you want to win fantasy football.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right. My team. Okay, it's a 14-team league. I have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack. I have Devon Achane. I have Tyrone Tracy. I have Tony Pollard. I have AJ Brown and Cooper Kupp, and I have David Njoku and Bucky Irving. My team is stacked for a 14-team league. Like,
wow,
legitimately stacked. Since week 8, I look today, I'm averaging like 115 points per game. It's a half PPR standard league. Like, that's a lot of points per game in a half PPR league with the amount of starting slots we have, right? So my team's been cooking, but it started off really slow because of injuries, like Cooper Kupp, right? AJ Brown was hurt. There's just stuff that's got. I have Tank Dell on that team too, so he was in my starting lineup, giving me nothing week in and week out. So I got off to a tough start. Now this league, and the way that I commish, you get 5 spots for playoff for the playoffs for record, and then the 6th spot is most points not in. Okay, It just so happens that this year, not only am I very high in points for, but there's another team that's first in the league in points for that is now 7-6.
Oh no!
So I'm going to have a hard time getting in naturally by points because this other team has gotten really unlucky with their record. And it's just one of those things. It's just very, very unfortunate. Right. So essentially this week I had a game against one of my best friends. He might be listening to this too. He's a great fantasy player, but he has had my number in this league for years, like to the point where the bad beat after bad beat after bad beat, it's usually at the hands of this guy. Okay. Going up against him, I'm a 30-point favorite entering the week. My team is so much better than his team.
Right.
Okay? No, I mean, no offense to him, but he's also like, he's gotten pretty fortunate this year. His team, his record, all that. He would even admit to this, that his team is way, way worse than what his record shows. So I just happen to face Najee Harris, who has the best game of his season, Terry McLaurin, who has the best game of his season. And then I have I'm facing Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, who hook up. And Lamar Jackson gets that garbage time touchdown at the end of that game. Marvin Harrison Jr. is on this team. Yeah. He scores a touchdown, right? Yeah. So all this is going on. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just take the L. I'm gonna lose. And then Bucky Irving happens, right? In that late game. He's like compiling points. Goes into Monday night, and I am a 23-point underdog. I need to make up 23 points. And I have David Njoku remaining.
All right.
Okay. First or second drive happens. David Njoku scores a touchdown. I'm like, okay, this isn't really going to happen. That's a lot of points for him to score. It could. He needs to score two times, and then get a decent amount of yardage and catches. So then Njoku scores at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Now all I need in the second half is like 4.5 maybe 5 half PPR points to win this game out of nowhere. It's finally, this curse is finally going to end, right? I'm going to actually be on the side of good fortune for once, not only in this league, but against this person in particular. And then the second half happens. Jerry Jeudy is just going ballistic.
It goes nuclear.
And it comes down to, I'm down by like 2.4 points with 11 minutes left in the game. David Njoku catches a pass.
Mhm.
I'm now down by 0.6. Okay. I'm down by 0.6 points.
I know what you're going to say.
And it's the 2 minutes left in the game. Okay. The Browns get the ball and they're in hurry up mode. So I'm like, I'm down by point. I need one catch for 2 yards to win.
That's all you need.
David Njoku catches a pass for 0 yards.
I know.
I'm now down by 0.1.
0.1.
I'm down by 0.1. 2 plays later, there's a little out that David Njoku runs directly in no defender around him.
He has it in his hand.
He has it in his hands and he somehow drops it.
Oh my God.
And then he does not catch another pass the rest of the game.
Well, then the pick six happens shortly thereafter.
Yes. And he just doesn't catch a pass for the rest of the game. And I
that
lose the matchup by 0.1. And now I need so many different things to happen this week to make the playoffs in this league.
JJ, that is tough.
Like, don't even do that, David Njoku. I don't give me 5 points. Don't give me 22.5 when I need 20. You know, it's just, it was.
What
just,
a tease.
Yes. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't need that. So I then, you know, I was tilting, of course, even though like deep down, do I really, really care? Like, is this really going to, no, but I want to win, right? We're competitive people, right?
You are. And
then, yeah, of course, I want to win everything. And then I'm starting, you know, I'm like, oh, I better be in good position in Apex. I better be in good. And I was, fortunately. You and I are both looking, you're definitely in the Apex playoffs. I need to just stay the course to be able to make the Apex playoffs.
So I'm really sorry about your terrible beat. That's not a bad beat. It's a criminally bad beat.
It might be a bottom. It's probably a bottom 3 beat of my fantasy football life.
I was on the other side. I had a good beat. I delivered a bad beat to Evan Silva, our buddy. I was playing him in Apex, and I needed a pick 6 in the fourth quarter to win. I had the Broncos defense. My only shot was a pick 6, and I got it.
Fortunately, that didn't matter for me and my playoff positioning in that league because you're basically in anyway.
Yeah.
But you're probably working for a bye, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking like I was going to lose 2 points. I was going to lose on both ends in Apex, the average score and against Evan, but that put me over the top in both.
Look, I had Njoku and I have him in Apex too, so it was nice to at least like get points and stuff, and get above the average, all that stuff. But man, it was brutal. Someone though, and it was funny in the late round fantasy football Discord. You know, we have a live game banter channel where we're just chatting and talking while games are going on, like all day long on Sunday, and then during island games and stuff like that. And at the beginning of the night, we all declared it like David Njoku night because everyone needed David Njoku. Okay. Right. And then he starts going nuts. The whole Discord just anytime he scored a touchdown, it was just everyone pants off, like everyone just going nuts, right? Right. And there was me and this other person in the Discord where we needed Njoku, to catch one more pass at the end of that game. And then he didn't. But there was this other person was up by 6 with Njoku before the pick 6.
Oh,
yeah. That to me.
That's crazy.
That actually stings more than what I'm experiencing.
I mean, that's like a Miracle on Ice type situation where you can't believe what you've just seen.
Yes. And they said, I mean, same with me. Like, whenever your adrenaline's going like that, like my heart rate was like twice my normal heart rate going to bed last night because the game too was just awesome. Like it was just so much fun back and forth.
Oh, the product was unbelievable.
Yeah. Like why can't that happen every week? Like Bo Nix, that one touchdown that he threw to Marvin Mims. Oh my God. Like,
crazy.
we need more of this.
Dude,
we need
you know who
more
would
bad
never try that
defense.
throw? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
you never try that throw. Mahomes. Mahomes would never
Never.
ever try that
Never.
throw.
That's right.
So my dad called me. He said, "Why can't every game be like that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Dad, because not every game has Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Jameis Winston is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the game of football.
He's really a great shot in the arm for an otherwise kind of boring league."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, we kind of had this with Joe Flacco last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's just hilarious. Just there's just more and more and more evidence pointing to Deshaun Watson being one of the most horrific starting quarterbacks in the history of the league.
I mean, Troy Aikman was hammering that home during Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Every chance he got, he would be like, "Hey, you see how productive this Cleveland offense
Yeah.
is?"
Oh,
I don't
wow.
remember it being good when Deshaun Watson was, and then he mentioned Flacco. He was like, pretty much anybody who starts for this team except for Watson really
Yeah.
puts up numbers, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They open it up, they throw the ball, and they would be doing that with Deshaun Watson if he was good. And now my Jerry Jeudy best ball teams are looking a lot better than they were, the
Ooh,
first half of the season.
very good.
Maybe.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, we there. All right. Let's look at what happened last week. We had a pretty good streaming week, Denny.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence got hurt. He wasn't, he was kind of like a lower end QB2 just in general, but he did get hurt, only 0.2. But more of the main ones, like Russell Wilson had a 27-point performance. He was awesome against Cincinnati.
Oh, crazy.
Drake May had 19. Bryce Young had 24. I mean, we crushed quarterback last week. We did pretty well at tight end too. Hunter Henry, 14.5. Noah Gray, 9.8. Mike Gesicki, 10.3. Theo Johnson, who had a great game. Unfortunately, he's out for the year now, but like he looked great against Dallas. He had 10.4 points. Speaking of Dallas, top streamer, 17 points last week. And then Indianapolis had 6. I wish we would have mentioned Seattle. I mentioned them on my show, and they were really struggling at first in that game, but they came together. They had like a block kick and stuff, and they were a good streamer as well.
Yeah, I felt like both them and the Jets were decent, like volatile plays defensively.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, we had 2 decent enough defenses. It was fine. Good week overall. Let's move on to week number 14.
Yes.
Just a few more of these. I'll kick things off because I have 3 quarterbacks. I'll start with Russell Wilson once again. He's still under that 40% mark over on Yahoo. I think he's like at 35, 36% rostered right now. He only had a 4.8 ADOT last week because of all those dump offs that my opponent had, with Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a 10.9 yards per attempt rate. He's been at a 9 yards per attempt in 4 of 6 starts so far this year. Cleveland's a below average matchup in terms of adjusted fantasy points allowed, but they have allowed the 3rd highest rate of 15 plus air yard throws in football so far this year. We know that that's sort of what this offense is predicated on. It's dump it off short to these running backs or chuck it deep on play action, get it to George Pickens down the field. And Russ has been good at that so far, during this Steelers tenure. So the Steelers right now have almost a 25-point implied team total too against Cleveland. So I think they're in a good spot. I think that Russ should be. I think I have him ranked as like a QB1 this week.
Russ was cooking. We are loving the cooking. By the way, Justin White said he just poked his head into the YouTube stream. He's a longtime listener, of course. Justin White, VA. We mention him almost every week, but first time viewing, so we appreciate that, Justin. Jameis. We're back on Jameis. Over the past 3 weeks, Jameis Winston is first in pass attempts, second in completions, first in passing yards at 8.5 yards per attempt. So just like an unbelievable fantasy asset off the wire. The Steelers are a slight pass funnel. The Browns, of course, were 5% below their expected pass rate when these teams played a couple weeks ago, but there was the weather, so factor that in. The Steelers are 7-point favorites, so I think we should have another 40 to 50 drop back game for Winston.
Yeah, this is not a game that I'm predicting Mike Tomlin screws up. I think that they got their loss against Cleveland. I would be shocked if they especially Cleveland on that emotional game, short week. I'd be shocked if they sweep Pittsburgh this year. But we'll see.
I don't think that's happening though.
Yeah. We'll go to Will Levis against Jacksonville. He's now scored 17 points per game over his last 4. He's been like between that 15 and 19 point range in all of those contests. Tennessee has an okay 21.5 point implied team total. Jacksonville, as we know, they're the top team in adjusted points allowed to quarterbacks. They're the top team now because Baltimore has been better in their secondary and adjusted passing yards allowed. So teams facing Jacksonville, their quarterbacks are generally throwing like 50 plus more yards than they typically throw for. So I think Levis, not a terrible option. I'd probably be playing. I think I have Russ and Jameis ranked ahead of Levis, but if you're desperate, I don't think he's an awful play.
Levis is weird, by the way. Like really
as a human.
accurate, yet like his success rate is horrific because of all the turnovers and sacks. So
yeah, he's definitely. I feel like he has tools for sure. It's just I don't know if it's ever gonna come together.
He definitely looks like a quarterback. Cooper Rush, deep play here against Cincinnati. So the Cowboys actually have a 22.5 point implied total, which is really high for what I thought they would have. This game has a 50.5 point total, one of the highest of the week. I think maybe the highest of the week, unless things have changed. And then, he's playing a Cincinnati defense that's just been shredded by everyone, including Russ last week. Cincinnati allowing the 4th highest dropback EPA and the 7th highest passing success rate on the season.
So the last one's Aiden O'Connell against Tampa Bay. Do you think Aiden O'Connell is a worse play than Will Levis this week or a better play than Will Levis?
Let me check something. I meant to check.
It's a pretty similar situation. You get the second. It's just Jacksonville obviously is the best matchup, for quarterbacks. This is just the second best matchup across the board for quarterbacks going up against Tampa Bay. They have a 19.5 point implied team total, so it's a couple points lower than where Tennessee's at. I don't know. Aiden O'Connell looked good against Kansas City, so I'm sitting here thinking I probably prefer O'Connell as the quarterback, like at the quarterback. I think that Jacoby Myers is really strong. Brock Bowers is a beast. I don't know. I might trust that offense a little bit more, and I also kind of trust a potential shootout in this game as opposed to Jacksonville and Tennessee.
I like O'Connell more here.
Yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm probably going to switch things up because I had Levis ranked ahead of him originally in my rankings, but I might go O'Connell over him. But that's why you can play Aiden O'Connell this week.
There you go. We're done with quarterbacks.
Yes, let's move on to tight ends.
All right, I will start with Mike Gesicki. I mean, look, the guy's running 68% route rate over the past 2 games, which is fine. But he's been targeted on 7 of his 68 routes over that stretch. So that's not great. Anyway, T. Higgins is in there, so that changes everything for Gesicki. But you could do worse.
Yeah, I think you could do worse. I mean, look, you're just attaching him to like a high-powered, pass-heavy offense. And that's it.
Yes, the process.
Will Dissly, I think, is a really good play to bounce back after his goose egg because he was banged up this past week. But he still had a 71% route share, which is pretty much like on par with where he's been at.
Yeah.
It's actually a little bit higher than normal for him. So now he gets Kansas City. Kansas City is very friendly to tight ends. They allow the 3rd most adjusted points to the position and also the 3rd highest adjusted target share to the position. So I think Will Dissly has a nice bounce back this week.
Yeah, really low volume, everything for the Chargers.
Yeah, it was stupid game. That game really annoyed me.
That game, it sucked for fantasy. God.
Yeah, it was awful.
Anyway, Juwan Johnson, obviously Taysom's package is done for the year. Knee injury for the old man. Who knows if we'll ever see the package again. But Juwan Johnson should take over as the primary route running tight end. Saints play quite a bit of 2 tight end sets, so I guess him and who's the other Saints tight end? The guy from the Raiders,
Foster Moreau.
He could be involved as well, but I would expect Juwan Johnson to get a lot more playing time, and obviously that comes along with some more targets.
Yeah, you took my guy, by the way. That was Juwan. It's fine. You know what? On a whim, I'm going to give you guys some data on Noah Earl Gray, the 6th. Okay. So
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I have my spreadsheets. It's fine. I can come up with something. I can cook. Let me cook. All right. Noah Gray over his last 3, 18.3, 22.6, and 9.8 PPR points. He has a target share per game rate over this time of 13.7%. That's not bad. His route participation has been, over that 50% mark pretty consistently over the second half of this season. They get LA this week, the Chargers. The matchup on paper, not great. It's actually the worst that you can find in adjusted fantasy points allowed. But if you need some of that desperation, like I kind of feel similarly with Noah Gray to Juwan Johnson. The Giants are also horrific for tight ends. I mean, they've been really good at limiting targets to tight ends. They've allowed the second fewest points, adjusted points to the position. So I might go, I think Disley's kind of in his own tier of these guys. And then I might play Mike Gesicki over the other two because of matchup at the end of the day. But I do think that Noah Gray is okay enough because there are very limited options right now at tight end. Unless Dalton Kincaid and Jake Ferguson are out again, pay attention to Dawson Knox and Luke Schoonmaker because both of them would be pretty viable options.
Right. Exactly. Is that it for tight ends?
Yeah, that's it for tight ends. We're on defense. Right. You going to steal my defense now too?
I'm not. I'm talking about the Saints defense.
Hey, oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah, I mean, sack base floor. Well, it depends on if Drew Lock is going to start here, but Drew Lock was sacked on 28% of his pressures last week against Dallas, 6 total sacks. And then, of course, you have the possibility of runaway game script that could set up the Giants for more turnovers. I feel like I'd play the Saints almost over almost anyone this week.
Here, I did my defensive rankings actually earlier today. I have the Steelers as my first, the Eagles as my second, because they get Carolina, Minnesota as my third, and then the Saints as my fourth. So
yes, that makes sense. I would start those 3 teams. The Vikings are probably the best option, I think, this week.
So, yeah, and look, the Giants offense, Denny, has just been like egregiously bad. They now have allowed, I'm trying to pull it up. They've allowed a top 10 defensive performance in, I want to say, it's in 7 of their last 8 games.
That's a lot. That's pretty consistent.
The one team that didn't get there was Washington. But they're averaging over their last 6, they're averaging 4.5 sacks per game allowed. Like they're just horrendous defensively. I don't care who's playing them. You can play their defense. I'm going to go with Arizona. They get Seattle. That's the 6th best matchup by adjusted points allowed so far this year. Their offensive line has really been struggling. It's part of the reason why Kenneth Walker has been struggling so much from a fantasy perspective. Because Kenneth Walker's usage isn't changing. It's literally they're just inefficient and they're not able to get much push. But they've allowed 7, 4, 5, and 3 sacks over their last 3. That's actually over their last 4 because those are 4 numbers that I read, not 3. That includes 5 sacks though against this Cardinals defense a couple of weeks ago. Get this though, Denny. Did you know that the Cardinals defense over their last 4 games they've ranked 5th, 6th, and 12th in defensive scoring?
Really?
Yeah. They're actually they're doing all right. And here's the other thing with Arizona. You could double dip here because they get New England next week.
Oh, there you go.
So you might want to pick them up if you are looking forward to week 1 of the playoffs.
All right. And aren't we all?
Aren't we all? To recap, we got Arizona, New Orleans. We have Dawson Knox and Luke Schoonmaker if those 2 tight ends are out. Juwan Johnson, Mike Gesicki, Noah Gray, Will Disley, Aiden O'Connell, Cooper Rush, Will Levis, Jameis Winston, and Russell Wilson.
Ruffle.
All right. Let's get to Twitter. We got some questions. Not a ton of questions this week, though, to be honest with you.
People are tuned out.
Twitter, Blue Sky. So we'll take our time here. This first question is from @Beefcake5. Do the weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas drag for you? Or as fantasy analysts, does it almost feel like nothing changes since the football grind never stops?
They fly by, actually.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in the year, the nice part is that a lot of the content that we do is low stakes content.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Yeah. Right. Because it seems counterintuitive because of the playoffs and everything, but what we're talking about is no longer my rest of season rankings and stuff aren't getting nearly as much feedback anymore because trade deadlines are done. Yeah. It doesn't really matter that much. And, trade recommendations don't matter. And those are usually bigger than waiver wire recommendations and stuff. And most of the waiver wire recommendations are going to be relatively obvious at this point because we know which players have emerged and, who to stash at running back and stuff like that. So it's oddly a lower stakes time for us. And then, once Christmas hits, we have that week between Christmas and New Year. I don't know about you, but I do less content that week just because I'm trying to not just work the whole time.
Yeah, I may do a little bit less, but it flies by. I will say it feels a little bit like silly season sometimes because so many people have tuned out at that point. That because the playoffs start, like you gave up on your team weeks ago. So it has a different feel. Obviously, you want to help folks win their championships. It's cool to see that happen every year, but definitely, I think like a looser feel around the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, like audience drops. I think we talked about podcast numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
One episode, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. Like those numbers drop. You have fewer people paying attention. When you have fewer people paying attention, it's just not as big of a deal. If, of course, I'm going to still try to like do my best with my content. I'm just saying that
Right.
you don't have the pressure that you do like draft season and your draft takes.
People
that is a way different kind of pressure. And look, we're not complaining here at all, but that is a way different kind of pressure than waiver wire columns on December 15th.
The feel of draft season is way more intense than the holiday fantasy analysis.
Yeah, and especially the first month of the season when your takes are wrong or not wrong or whatever, like that is the time that you hear stuff most is September. And so as the season goes on, you're hearing less and less from people, and your takes are pretty like set in stone. Kind of the direction that your season has gone in, and you can kind of lean into either way and just be like, okay, this is how I performed, this is how I didn't perform, and I just kind of go from there.
There's nothing worse than hyping a player, having him get off to a slow start, right? And then you get flooded with people being like, you're owned, like, you're terrible, like you shouldn't have this job. And then the guy comes on in week 10 and week 12 or whatever. Yeah. But you don't hear back. You don't hear back about him.
You know who that was for me this year?
Who?
Chase Brown.
Oh yeah. Big time.
I mean, just unreal.
Yeah.
The emails and your ambiguous backfield idea is stupid.
Didn't work in week 1 or 2.
Yeah. Didn't work. Meanwhile, Najee Harris was the winner out of Pittsburgh. Tony Pollard was the winner out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Chase Brown was the winner out of Cincinnati. Yeah.
I mean, you will never hear about it if it happens later. Now, but I would say the opposite is true. If you hype a guy in August, he gets off to a hot start, then it's, oh, thank God, you're my hero. Like I drafted him everywhere. But then if he flames out in week 12, like DK Metcalf, for instance.
Yes. Oh my God. He's been horrible.
Like he's barely fantasy relevant. And so I was getting a lot of, oh, thank you so much in September for DK. I don't hear anything about it today, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right. There, if nothing else, I think that there's a massive, massive anchoring bias that goes on in fantasy football.
Oh yes. Oh man.
Yeah. It's wild. I remember what was it? It was like Torrey Smith's season one year really got me onto this and like realizing it. It was either he started off really hot or he started off really slow, I think. And then he did well at the end of the season or something like that. And I just remember the perception was just so far off from reality with him. And it's similar, like DK Metcalf in the same division, Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel has been horrible this year as a fantasy asset, like legitimately bad. I'm talking like he's averaging like 9 points per game in PPR formats. Like he's been horrifically bad, and hopefully things turn around because CMC's out now and all that stuff. But it's just a very strange dynamic. Like I ranked him today based on, because like, whenever you do rest of season rankings, it's very difficult sometimes to balance, the production of what these guys have done versus what we can see will be coming or what we foresee coming, but also, just balancing like how people are viewing him in general as well, because you want to make sure that you're thinking about the market and that side of things too. And like Deebo Samuel is one of those guys that I'm like a little bit lower on in the market only because the market hasn't adjusted. Jaden Reed was like that. Mm-hmm. Jaden Reed got off to this really hot start, and then he sucked but he's been horrible. Like from a fantasy perspective, not horrible, but he hasn't been very good. He's seen a 20% target share like 3 times this year.
He gets away with it with touchdowns sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, past week,
his stuff is never reliable because it just totally reliant on huge big plays. So.
And every week I would do my rest of season rankings. And at first, after like the first couple of weeks of the season, people were way too low on him, in my opinion. Like I thought that people were way too low. And then as I started seeing his usage and it not getting any better despite him playing out of his mind, I'm like, okay, this is not going to actually happen. And then you start to adjust. The market is always late to adjust to that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And it's just been very, very evident. But it all points back to like anchoring bias being a very real thing, and people just like slotting guys into their lineup, even if those players are not performing well. Like over and over again, that hurts your fantasy teams more than guys who get injured, where you can just get a replacement and throw them in there.
Yes. CJ Stroud comes to mind this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And Tank Dell too. I mean, same offense. Like that was one of in that team that I was talking about earlier. I was starting him early in the season and he's just not doing anything. And then eventually you just got to bench the dude, even in these plus matchups.
Yeah.
Next question at Chris Riley _ says, would be interested to hear you guys compare being your own boss versus working for a large corporation.
What was the question? Say it again. I'm sorry.
Would be interested to hear you guys compare being your own boss versus working for a large corporation.
Well,
I mean, I've experienced both over the last 5 years.
Yeah. What are well, they're probably only pros for the working by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I won't lie. Like part of hiring Kitchen was that I wanted to work with somebody. Like you do, if you're doing it solo, it does get a little bit monotonous and you do feel that need, like you want to just bounce ideas off of somebody,
Sure.
you know, like, there's obviously other reasons why I was hiring him, but that was another, that was a pro to the whole situation. I don't know. I would say being your own boss sucks though, from the perspective that everything is on you. You can't really take breaks.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to be like, oh, someone else can cover my rankings this week. I was actually talking to my wife, knock on wood, but it's like, I don't remember a week over the last handful of years that I don't remember since I started the Late Round podcast. I don't remember a week in season where I didn't get all of the episodes that I needed to get out based on like being sick, for instance. Like I haven't been sick enough, even like through COVID and stuff. You're just getting the content out the door. But I don't have the ability to not do that. Like I kind of have to.
Yeah.
That's the downside. That's the downside. The upside is tremendous. It's way better than I actually went on a little bit of a rant on not rant's the wrong word, but talked about it a little bit on Blue Sky a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week when I announced the kitchen thing. And or no, someone posted about the data dump and they said why JJ hasn't been found by a national media company yet doesn't make any sense or something like that, right? And look, I'm not saying that I could be on ESPN or anything like that. I have no clue. But my response is I have zero desire to ever do that in my life. I mean, zero desire.
Yeah, maybe this person wasn't on Blue Sky. Maybe they were just getting to know you or something. But if that had been your goal, then you would have achieved that by now.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say.
Sure.
I can't look. I can't say either way because it's a very competitive market and it's like a different skill set that I don't think I really have. Like I'm not. Well, I've done TV before. I don't like it. It's just not. I'm not comfortable doing it. It's just not my thing. And like I'll say this: owning your own stuff, owning your content, owning what you're producing, and having the ability to do that has more upside than working for a big media company. It does.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. You own the means of production.
And there's more financial upside. There's more upside in terms of flexibility and freedom. I know that I talked about the lack of flexibility, but you could still dictate what you're doing completely. Like I could take a week off of if I really wanted to. I just enjoy doing it / I want to make it continuous so that I'm making money and people are getting continuous content from me. But there's a lot of flexibility that you just, that you don't get in a different kind of job. And also the financial upside is there.
Yes, right. The harder you work, maybe the more money you make.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about you, but like I always wanted to do what I'm doing now. I think, you and I have had so many conversations about it whenever I was at like FanDuel and stuff and like just forever. Like this was what my end goal, what I wanted it to be.
Right.
And I feel very lucky that I was able to do it, but I don't think it's for everyone. Like, I don't think that like how I feel about the situation is necessarily how, because people like stability and people like, being under in that structure as opposed to just
Mhm.
kind of like making it up on their own.
It's definitely not for everybody. I can
Yeah.
report that. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's pros and cons. Depends on who you are as a person.
Someone said, how do we think generative artificial intelligence is going to change content creation and player analysis? Not at all is my answer.
None.
Not at all. No, it's total garbage. It's not gonna. I mean, people are gonna try to replace fantasy analysts with AI, and it's gonna go so terribly and be rejected so hard by the public. It's not gonna work.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be helpful with like model building and stuff. But
Yeah.
when it comes to like creative, right? Because like our jobs are not strictly robotic, and I think that's part of the issue with the way that some even like higher ups at companies and like the more on the back end, the business end would view this stuff is that they make the assumption that like it is robotic, and so they can just replace their content writers and creators with these literal robots, right?
Yeah.
But people are listening for just as much for the personalities and entertainment as they are just
Absolutely.
for strict facts and figures.
People are not robots. They don't want. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we've talked about it. There's definitely a good segment of the fantasy consuming population that doesn't want a single thing about your life. They don't
Right.
want any anecdotes. They don't want any entertainment. They want numbers and analysis of those numbers, right? Which is fine. That's your prerogative. But I would say far more people want to know about the people delivering the information, like folks do for living the stream.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I would say that the late round podcast caters to that audience pretty well, right?
Yeah.
The audience of just wanting the information. But what goes unnoticed is that there's so much narrative building and storytelling that I do on that show and that others who are doing that kind of content do that is going to be very difficult to capture at this point. Maybe someday in the future, we have no idea where AI is going. But at this point, it's, there's a human element still to that kind of analysis.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know. I just think AI is just slop that is being pumped as like the future of everything, and I don't believe it.
Yeah, look, as folks are saying, as Tyler's saying, and as Matt's saying, Tyler says, love some good old poop talk, like you're not getting that. You're not getting that with AI. Although I will say, if I could have AI record my podcast, just do the recording. I just don't, I've already done my notes. I've done the fun stuff, the research, actually recording my podcast. This podcast is different because we're having a conversation. And
right.
We never know where this is going ever.
No, we don't.
Right. Whereas the late round podcast, I know exactly where it was going to happen. And it's not actually recording it is not fun. I'm also sweating by the end of it.
I can imagine. Yes. I can imagine that you are sticking to the script. You are sticking to foosball.
Yeah. Right. And there's just no, I know exactly what's going to happen when I start to hit record because I put my notes together,
right.
And that's it.
The future of your podcast sounds like a robot saying Chase Brown got 47% of the targets.
Yeah, there was someone, I wish I remembered who sent me it, but someone took my 15 transactions column and put it through Google AI, and they created a conversation between two robots about my article.
Really?
It was pretty freaking insane. Yeah.
That's scary. We have a viewer says, wait until AI starts pooping. Then
yes,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble when they have bathroom habits. Yeah.
I hope they never have a bowel movement.
Yes. All right, here's a fun one. Charles Sword says, in honor of Jameis season, what is your Mount Rushmore of DGAF quarterbacks? Can Tyler Thigpen make the cut? He doesn't make the cut. To me, there were three obvious ones when I saw this question of DGAF quarterbacks that I think have to make it. Because we're going to go with our era, right? We're not going to go with like someone from 1985. That's stupid. I think the three are Jameis has to be one. Okay. He's definitely a DGAF quarterback. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has to be one.
Yes. Well, yeah.
And I think Jay Cutler has to be one.
Really? I was going to say Flacco.
Flacco's pretty good, but Flacco wasn't always like this.
No, he wasn't.
Jay Cutler was like the ultimate. I mean, we literally would like dub him the DGAFfer when talking about him.
But I kind of thought that was because he Like
Well,
literally
yeah.
didn't give an F.
Yeah, but he was also like a pretty careless, a thrower as well. And he was
He
a
was.
deep ball guy, strong arm. The way I sort of categorize this and think about this is like strong armed, careless with the football, but there's upside with what they're doing when they do those things.
Yeah, some of the comments says Stafford, obviously with
Yeah, Stafford's a good
back
one.
with Megatron, not now, but back then.
Yeah, Favre is probably a go-to one, but
But
I'm like really sick of Brett Favre. I didn't want to bring him up.
yeah, I didn't ever play fantasy with Brett Favre.
Yeah, I didn't either, but he was definitely a D-gaffer. I mean, the dude probably he's like the one who started a lot of the this era's like that mentality, if you will.
Jordan Love might be like the last DF quarterback.
He's fun. Yeah. He's fun. And no one gives him that credit.
Well, they don't give him credit, but when those aggressive downfield throws are interceptions, then he gets the blame. Oh, well, why doesn't he just simply check it down like Mahomes? Like, that's not his game.
Mahomes was kind of looking like that to some degree at first, but he was also just really good.
How boring are the Chiefs? They're just crushingly boring.
It's very, very sad. I actually don't think that they're gonna make serious noise in the playoffs this year.
I don't think they're good at all.
Yeah, it's gonna be. We literally, what was it like last Christmas? They lost to the Raiders or something.
Yeah, right.
And then they won the Super Bowl. So
yeah, I know.
We probably shouldn't put that out on the internet.
I'm putting it out. They're not good. Rotopat said during their loss to the Raiders, he said the Chiefs will easily win the Super Bowl, and they did. I mean, it was such a call because I remember at the time I was like, well, it's funny, but obviously they're not even going to win one game in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it feels like the Bills are the best team in the AFC by far at this point.
Yes.
I mean, maybe the Ravens can make some more. I still don't trust the Steelers fully. I just hope the Steelers can win a playoff game so that people can just shut up about Mike Tomlin.
So folks have asked me about Justin Tucker. I have to be very. I don't think it's a hot take. I think if you're the Ravens, you have to bench him, not cut him, but you got to
do something
because you cannot go into a postseason run. He's cost them 2 games now. I mean, cost directly cost them. That he's the biggest liability in the NFL today. Okay, according to the metrics, literally. So you got to bench him for the rest of the season. You got to pick up somebody off the street. I don't know who. I got Matthew Wright, who's kicking for Kansas City right now. Like Matthew Wright would be an upgrade over Justin Tucker right now. Let him figure it out. But you can't do this to your team.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. What do you think's going on with him as a kicker expert?
I think it's the yips. I think it's a guy. He's looking around. He's doing that thing where you miss. Well, he's missing left over and over and over. And I read that that's a good thing. Okay, like that you can figure it out if you're missing to the left as a right-footed kicker. But then he missed right last week, and that's when the red flags went up, and they said, like now it's a problem. Like now we don't know how to fix it.
It's pretty crazy how like these kickers' careers just like end, like they because it seems like it would be such a monotonous, repetitive type movement that how could you possibly get so far off track? Whereas like at least you can understand a running back or like their bodies fall apart. And this isn't really a body falling apart thing right now. It's just all mental.
He's 35. So I don't.
But what I mean is he's still got the leg, right? I mean, maybe it's it's like other parts of his body aren't as strong or something like that. Maybe that's. But his leg isn't like the strength isn't really the problem here.
I actually heard Bill Belichick talking about this, and Belichick is kind of freakish when it comes to kicking. Like he's obsessed with
and if you think about it, they had Vinatieri and Gostkowski. Like they had a good situation for literally 2 decades.
But so when he was the coach of the Patriots, they would ask him about like an injury to Tom Brady, and he would be like, "Tom's fine, he's on the team." But then they would be like, "What do you think about Gostkowski making 2 from 50 yards?" And he would talk for like 11 minutes on the spin that Gostkowski puts on the ball compared to other players. Like he really, really is like fascinated by it. And he was talking about Justin Tucker the other day. And he said, the thing that worries me about Tucker is that he's always been a straight ball kicker. Like a lot of guys, they put a draw on it, so that means right to left for him.
Yeah.
Or some guys even fade it, okay, which is not actually recommended from what I understand. But he's never done those things. It's just straight. And he said he hasn't seen a straight ball from him all season. So that is a major issue, I think.
It's like someone who's just like a driver that can just take the driver straight down the fairway every time, and then all of a sudden,
Yes,
they're not.
All of a sudden, they are starting it down the middle, and it's drifting left, and it's
right. Or they're like opening their club face a little bit or something like that.
And that's what's happening. So everything for Tucker starts right down the middle, and then it hooks left.
Yeah.
And then, but last week it faded right. Ugh,
yeah,
terrible.
That is crazy. Very crazy. All right, let's go to Blue Sky. We got some questions on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Let's go to Neil Dutton. He asked, a friend of mine has an aunt who, for 15 years in a row, has bought him an autobiography for Christmas, usually of an incredibly random, quote, celebrity, highlighted by Tyson Fury's dad's offering last year. Do you have relatives who you can rely on to buy you the same type of gifts every year?
Oh, man.
I did. My Aunt Betty, rest in peace. She was like my great aunt, so she was, she was older. She would get me a turtleneck every year, just a different from Kohl's. Every year, never wore them, but I got a turtleneck from her every year.
I mean, at least she was consistent.
Yeah.
So I throughout my life, I've had what I consider like high interests, right? So like obsessions. Like for a while it was golf.
Yeah.
So everything I got for years and years was golf related. And my my aunt used to get me the same golf shirt over and over and over from her country club. And so I used to get, I had like 5 different golf shirts of this country club.
That's funny.
And so that was one. Also like like dolphins. Like I was obsessed with the dolphins as a kid. So I ended up with like 7 merino jerseys because people just kept buying me merino jerseys.
Well, it's also a problem when someone finds out like a very specific thing that you're into, and then they're the ones who are buying Christmas gifts because it's like the only thing they know about you, so they're going to lean into that.
I one time told my grandma I like candles. That was a mistake.
Did you go through a candle phase?
I wouldn't call it a phase. I think I like literally was like, I like the smell of this Christmas candle.
Oh, she took that and ran with it.
And she, I would say conservatively 5 straight years bought me like many candles for Christmas. So I was stocked up. If we lost electricity for the next 3 years, I'm good. I'm going to be smelling like pine for the next 5 years.
All right, we'll go one more question. This is from Kenny 2 Slice on Blue Sky. You're invited to a friend's home for a dinner/party. You've never been to the house, or it has been quite some time since you have, and you don't know what the friend's preference is. Do you use the front or back side door by default?
It's got to be the front.
It's got to be. I saw this question. I'm like, who? Even close friends, I'm going through the front door.
I can't imagine like being that familiar. I would not do that. We have a difficult situation. So we have a sunroom that used to be a garage, and that's where we enter and exit the house. But every delivery guy who comes up puts it at the other door, which no one has used it since like the 80s in this house, right?
Right.
So they always come up to the house, and I'm waving to them, be like, "Come to the sunroom, come to." And
is the sunroom on the side of the house or the back of the house?
It is to the side.
Okay.
Relative to the other door, the other what looks like the main entrance, but no one has used it as such in many years.
Yeah.
And even as I'm saying, come to the, they're like, hey, how's it going? Hey.
Yeah.
And they're nodding at me, and they go to the other door and they put it there every time.
There's something about homes in the northern part of the country and the northeastern part of the country where there are multiple front doors, like multiple places where people, like my wife's, my in-laws, they have a regular front door, but they use kind of like this door that's by the driveway that's still kind of in the front, but it's kind of like tucked away a little bit, and it's not really the front. I feel like that's a pretty common thing up like where maybe because houses are a little bit older and that's just a thing that existed then. This is
Where
just
is
in
it?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's in Pittsburgh. Oh.
Yeah. Down here, I haven't seen a 2-door house in a while, man.
They outlawed them in North Carolina.
Yeah. All right. I think that. Oh, wait, let's go with one more. One more. This
Okay.
is because Steak Knife Ob is on Blue Sky now. He said,
Hey, there you go.
since I was called out by JD last week, I'm bringing my talents over here to Blue Sky for the remainder of the season. This week's question: what is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, well, I mean, I have many. I would just say people who use social media and they make it their whole personalities to tell people what to post and what not to post.
Okay.
You know, so they'll come. I mean, they'll come up. Hey, and obviously I've gotten this for football, but I see other people. Hey, I follow you for movie takes, not food takes.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not a machine designed to give you analysis for free on the internet. You're going to have to deal with my human takes along with what I do for a living, which is not my entire life. So don't tell me how to post.
That's a good pet peeve. I think my pet peeve, I know my biggest pet peeve. I have a very strong, like, if I had a Madden awareness rating, it'd be close to 99, I think. Like I'm very aware of my surroundings all the time. And I try to be very aware of how other people are feeling around me.
Okay.
Right. Just a very, very, like, top of the like, very high priority thing for me. I cannot stand with all of my heart when human beings are just generally ignorant to their surroundings.
There's no spatial awareness.
When they're in line at the grocery store and they're on their, or no, better yet, when they're in traffic and they're looking at their phone and they're not going when the light turns green, or when there are so many instances where they're just so focused on their own life and they're not looking about what's going on around them, drives me absolutely bonkers.
We have gotten to the point with driving and scrolling Instagram or whatever, where people actually, no one drives fast anymore because everybody's just grinding Instagram.
Yeah, that's right. It's true. It's true.
And it's such a problem. Like, we got to find a way to disable phones while driving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, obviously people can't handle it.
Yeah, it's you're not wrong. TK in chat says, when my coworkers decide to strike up a 10-minute conversation right in front of the bathroom door. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. When you're clearly like there's been instances where I'm like holding something heavy and someone's talking to me and I'm just standing there with like groceries or something. It's like, how can you not understand what's going on around you right now?
You gotta be aware of the way other people feel, first of all.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, and like you said, I mean, you're saying that you're like the Neo of the grocery store. Like,
look, more or less, I have strong awareness. Yes.
Somebody could throw a can of chickpeas at you from behind and you will duck down.
Yes, I would. I can hear, I have like super hearing whenever I'm in that state. Yeah. I can just, sense it coming.
It is very frustrating when you're just standing there and you're like, are you effing kidding me?
Yes.
Like you're so you're not going to move. Is that what we're to believe here? You're not moving?
Right.
Okay.
Right. People who are not, I think maybe I could like really pinpoint it to people who are not moving when they need to move, like anywhere. When like people are trying to get to something. Oh, was I standing in front of this door? Oh, was I? Yeah, you were while you were on your phone, you moron. Yeah.
But how it actually comes out is, yeah, no problem. No
exactly. Yeah. Realistically, oh, that's not a big deal. I've just been waiting here for the last 5 minutes, and I just didn't say anything because I'm completely non-confrontational, and it's totally fine that you just ruined my day. No big deal.
Yeah. Right. It's fine. I liked it.
Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. All right. That's it for today's show, Denny. Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find all my work on RotoWorld, including the regression files. You can find me on the Blue Sky. I'm
on Blue Sky as well. Late round QB. How do you say the Blue Sky handles?
I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Mine is at dennycarter.bsky.social.
Yeah. I'm late round QB on Twitter and on there, and check out all my work over on lateround.com.
There you go.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to Living the Stream. We hope you enjoyed the internet podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes now. It won't take long, it's fast. For more fantasy football info, check out
LateRound.com and NBC Sports Edge.
Hope you come back soon as we share about the team.